I'm going to talk to you today about privacy rights. And this is important because it comes up a lot to emails that I get from people. It's like, do I have a right to privacy in my parents' home, in my marriage? And if so, what is that right? So relationships have a right to privacy. That's an inherent right that should be there. Nobody has a right just because we're in a relationship with them to know every single thing about us, where we are, what we do, what we say. That's controlling, super controlling. If somebody is wanting you to give an account of the time that you got to the store, when you leave the store, every single penny you spent at the store, wants to know when you leave the store to go to the next place. That is controlling. That is part of a controlling, manipulative, abusive relationship, not okay. But I'm talking about privacy rights as far as if you're a child in your parents' home, do you have a right to privacy? No. If it's their home and you're doing something in their home that the parent is uncomfortable with and the parent thinks that you are doing that, then you can't assume that you have the right to not have your parent know what's going on. Now, if your parent is super controlling and just nosy and looks through everything and listens at your door and goes through all your notes and checks where you've been on the computer, if it's out of this continual obsession with wanting to know what you are doing, then it's not good. That's not okay. But if you're a minor, you probably don't have any way other than just asking or seeing if your parent will allow you to put a password protected, code on it. But again, I think you're seeing a trend here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you are in a marriage, we have a right to be individuals in our marriage as well as a couple. But when you're in a marriage and again, somebody's checking over all of your emails, looking at them, reading them, looking and seeing everything you're looking at, unless there is a reason that there is mistrust in the relationship, that's controlling. So generally, I will tell people in a relationship or marriage, a committed relationship or marriage, you don't have passwords on your accounts. I've got 5 emails, and every single one of them have the password saved in the computer. They are open for my husband to look at if he wants. His email on his phone, on his password on his account, I know it. I'm usually the one that sets it up and needs to make it to where he can get on it. But on his phone, he and I have the same password pattern to get into our phones. Both of us are the same. And when he changed his, the first thing he did was come to me and say, hey, I just changed the password code. Let me know. I would let him know. Why? Because we trust each other. We trust each other to, one, I am not going to go with a wrong motive checking through his stuff and just be, obsessive about that. Neither is he with me. I'm not going to go on his stuff and read it and start criticizing him over it or asking him questions about it. Also, neither one of us are doing anything wrong. We're not covering anything up. Now, if we were, then the first thing that we would probably do, which would be a big red flag, is to say, I'm going to put passwords on my account. I don't want my accounts open. I don't want you going on my accounts. So in a marriage relationship, it's kind of this balancing act, as it is in other relationships, but especially in marriage. It's a balancing act where we are open, we trust each other, but at the same time, when we allow ourselves to be open and transparent, we know that the other person is not going to cross a line and abuse that, not going to get, not going to, what's the word, he's not going to violate my privacy, and I'm not going to violate his, but there is no reason to. At the same time, we don't have a desire to. So you've got 2 extremes. You've got the one person who might be doing something wrong, who puts passwords on, and that's a red flag to you. The other thing is you've got somebody who's super controlling and violates your privacy, and not having passwords on that would mean that that person is going to violate your privacy. So open communication, right? If you have a problem with trust from the past, then that's going to be really hard for you, especially if it's in this same relationship, to have any password be on an account. You got to talk about that. You got to talk about why you need to have things open, how that's going to affect you if there isn't openness there. Also, if you have distrust in that area from a prior relationship, then you need to own that. That's your issue. You're the one that's having problems with that kind of trust. So you need to say, hey, this is an issue for me. This is something that I've struggled with. My prior person I was with was unfaithful or had passwords, and there ended up being a sexual addiction. So I'm going to have a really hard time with passwords. So again, you've got to work it out, and it's a balancing act. So Proverbs 16:2 says, all a person's ways seem pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord. So in this case, a lot of times we are weighing people's motives by their actions and looking at why are they doing this? And so if you infer a bad motive from something, it's going to hurt the relationship. If you do not have a good motive, your actions are going to show it, and that's also going to do that. And Proverbs 22:3, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay for it. There's one more time that I'll tell people to violate somebody's privacy, and that is when they suspect that something is going on and they need to know. If you have a parent who suspects that a child is doing something wrong with the money or drugs or something that is potentially harmful, you can find out what that is. If you think your child is stealing from you, or an employee is stealing from you, or taking funds, doing anything, if you're helping your child through college and you're giving that child spending money and that child is taking some of that money and going out and partying or buying drugs, you get to know that. That's important for you to know. You need that to make wise decisions. So in that case, you do what you need to do. If you think your spouse is having an affair, you need to know that. If you think that there's a sexual addiction going on and there's, what's going on the computer and that's affecting your relationship, you need to know that. In those cases, you can violate somebody's privacy. Again, motives are weighed by the Lord. You've got to be honest with this to yourself and to God and to your partner, to the other person. So your motive matters in this. So your motive is right, then it's okay sometimes to do that. If your motive is not right, if your motive is to be controlling, if the motive is to be able to come back at a person and pick at them and criticize, no, not okay. So you've got to work through this, and you've got to figure out, if you need to know what's going on, you've got to violate somebody's privacy. Even sometimes I've said to people, you need to know what's on, you get a forensic accountant to go over your books in that company, or you get a private detective to follow your spouse to see if there truly is an affair going on, because you get to know that. I mean, these things affect you. They affect your life. You have a right to know. So privacy rights in our relationships. We all have basic privacy rights. We have mutual trust, and we have mutual equal power in our relationships. Okay, we share power and we have mutual trust. But when somebody violates that, then sometimes we have to imbalance that and take some of our power back and saying, you're violating my trust. I can't leave my things open. If you're going to go through my emails, and then let's say an abusive partner or controlling partner reads your emails and says, you didn't tell me that you're going to go meet with the girls tomorrow. Like, why didn't you tell me that? Are you doing something behind my back, when all it was that you're just seeing friends and you just didn't mention it, which is perfectly okay. There's nothing sinister. Somebody's going to do that to you. Nope. Then you have to say, honestly, you are using my emails to pick on me and to beat me up and to try to corner me and do things. Your motive is not good. I need to have basic privacy. I need to have the privacy to have emails with my friends on a computer if you don't trust me with that, then we have a basic trust problem in the relationship, right? Then you've got to be able to talk about that and make some boundaries with that. So this can go a lot of different ways, but again, my basic premises are we have openness in our relationships, especially intimate relationships. We have mutual trust, should have mutual trust, got equal power. But if somebody abuses that trust and has wrong motives and gets into your personal stuff and is using that against you or using it in any way to harm you or the relationship, then you've got to pull that back. And likewise, if somebody else is doing something and you cannot continue to give that person your trust, then you have a right to find out what's going on. So I hope this helped. And I don't think it's something that people talk about a lot, but it's really important and it comes up a lot in relationships. So, okay, if you have any questions about your situation, you can email me. I will read your email and I will answer it. And it's through my website, carla@changemyrelationship.com. So, okay, thank you.